بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Dear brothers and sisters, respected viewers and friends, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the series of talks and sessions, we're going to discuss about the relationship between philosophy and Quran, and then what is the real stance of philosophy in the whole Islamic understanding or Islamic viewpoint. So this has been a very overwhelmingly challenging discussion throughout the history of Islam. So it is not something which is very simplistically going through it and saying, okay, this is philosophy and this is logic and everything is very well, and then there is no any, argument, or there is no any challenge between the two or between all different Islamic sciences. Of course, there always have been problems regarding, of course, the proponents and opponents of different schools of thought and different systems of sciences. So that is why we're going to go a little bit in depth analyzing the definition of each, for example, topic or each subject of matter. And then after that, we're going to find out if there is a bond or there is a consistency or there is an inconsistency between like Quran and philosophy. As you know, well, in the month of Ramadan, it is kind of recommended, prescription from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to recite different verses of Holy Quran. And then in this respect, well, it is, a must that we can focus upon the relationship between like different verses in Holy Quran and Holy Quran in general, and also philosophy. So that is why we're going to a little bit scrutinize the issue and the relationship, as I said, between philosophy and Quran. So and how Quran would view, of course, philosophy. So this is also another question that we are going to respond by the end of these, inshallah, sessions. So what is philosophy? So the very first question that we are going to address is that what is philosophy? What is the definition of philosophy? How a person is going to define a philosophy for us. For example, is it something that is only restricted and limited to a specific group of people that, for example, they're kind of lunatic? So this is a general public understanding of like those people that might think philosophers are like not in the public understanding like other flow of the society. They are like from different planets, having different shapes, even different understandings. They sometimes, through philosophy, isolate themselves from the rest of the people in the society. What are they? Are these convictions are true or not? They're not true about philosophy. So philosophy literally means to love the truth, or to love to know. So philo means to like or to love. Sophie means, or Sophia means to know. So the lover of knowledge is called philosopher. So I was saying that the literal translation of the word and of the term philosopher, which is a combination of two parts, philo and Sophia, means to a person who loves to know or to like to know something. So this is the literal understanding of the same term. But what is the technical definition? What does it mean for those people who try to, of course, define philosophy? So philosophy is the system, and then what kind of system? Is an intellectual system that somebody would go through to find out about the truth. Well, it has been in the history of philosophy. You know that some philosophers would claim that philosophy is not something that has been a kind of byproduct of human being after the generation and creation of human being. But on the contrary, they say philosophy has been always with human being. It has been always on the earth, because human beings' intellectuality and reasoning is something which is essential and substantial to that entity, to that, of course, animal, wise animal, let's say. So when we define human being as to be a wise animal, wisdom, isn't that essential part that well, we cannot make human being avoid of it. So wisdom is a kind of equivalent term to intellectuality or reasoning, let's say. So according to this understanding, some of those philosophers believe that philosophy has been always in, let's say, shoulder to shoulder or a face to face of the creation of human beings. So there is no any, let's say, gap between the two. So if that is true, it means that from the very early moment that human being has been created on the earth, that, let's say, being has been looking for the truth and reality. And that truth and reality, what are the characteristics of that reality and truth? So we are going to explain it a little bit more, of course, in the coming, of course, part. So I was trying to explain to you that, well, philosophy has been an ancient, let's say, science or knowledge for human beings, and it has been always, let's say, taken care of by human being. So in this respect, it is one of the oldest, let's say, ways to know the reality. And then I promised to you in the first part of this episode to tell you the characteristics of the reality. So what are those features of the reality? So this is very important for you to know that. In the ancient philosophy, of course, you know that we have that kind of division and partition of philosophy into different eras. So one of which is that Socrates, or Socrat, of course, as we say in Arabic, also in Persian language. Socrates is that, let's say, bottom line is that the landscape in philosophy according to which we're going to divide different timings in philosophy. So before Socrates and after Socrates. In any case, before Socrates, those philosophers were looking for the reality as to be an unchanging, stable, rigid, concrete thing or entity or being. So whatever moves or whatever changes or whatever is unstable or unstable, let's say in a better word, is not a reality. It's like, let's say, a shadow. It's like a fake thing. It's not actually in accordance with what it should be. So those philosophers were actually looking for what is not changing. And then what is like behind the screen. They would see all the entities in this world, because everything in this world, in this universe, whether in the heavens or the skies or on the celestial level or, for example, on earthly matters, everything was changing, nothing was fixed, nothing was stable. And then for them, for those people, the reality was not going to be held within all these things. So they were going to find out more about what is beyond these, let's say, unstable situation or unstable entities or beings. So for them, that very fixed, rigid, let's say, concrete being was the cause, or namely today we say as God. So for them, that stable thing was God, and God was the real thing that would overshadow all other things, all other like steps and, of course, let's say, effects. So if we believe so, and then if we understand that, well, we'll understand that philosophy was the only means through which people, and let's say better, philosophers were able to know God more, to know that very specific being that they were looking for, of course, in its proper sense. And then that is why philosophy was a very important thing, and then it has been accounted and regarded as a noble science that belongs to noble families and elites of the society. It was not something that normal people would go through and then, for example, they, let's say, kind of giving their time for it to for example, know something which is not very relevant to their daily routines. It was a kind of, let's say, some people would entertain their life by following this very deep question that has been always entailed with human beings' existence. So, so far, so good. I mean, everything is good. Philosophy is an ancient science, and then now we know a little bit about the history and kind of introduction to what philosophy is. And then now, in the coming sessions, what we are going to do, we are going to find out the relationship between philosophy and, of course, this let's say, properly defined word, or let's say subject matter or field of knowledge, then its attribution to Holy Quran. So this is what we are going to do. But in proper, of course, in an introduction to that, we're not going to directly to go to like reciting some of the verses of Holy Quran for you, and then after that saying, okay, this has got some philosophical connotations or annotations for you, so you're able to understand that through this, let's say, principle of philosophy. No. What we're going to do to give you a very good picture and image about philosophy, and then according to which you are going to be able to find out more about, of course, the relationship between the two, even if I'm not able to directly guide you through this, for example, guideline. What is the real position of philosophy among other sciences? So this is the next question that, whether in this session or in the coming session, next session, I'm going to address that. So philosophy among other sciences in Islamic perspective, and then when we are going to grasp that, when we are going to shed light on it, so we are going to better understand the relationship between philosophy and Quran in Islamic perspective, in Islamic world, or among other Islamic sciences. So these two and a couple of sessions are going to be an introduction to, of course, the real direction of our topic. But then, inshallah, after these couple of sessions, we're going to address directly, of course, the relationship between Quran and philosophy, and then the philosophical points in different verses of Holy Quran. Thank you very much to tune with me and then stay with me. I hope that these sessions are going to be beneficial for you and then satisfactory for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of our 12th Imam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.